Good afternoon, and thanks for joining our webinar today. I'm Matthew Owens, Director of Sales and Marketing at Annexa. And for today's webinar, I'm also joined by Bart Wadley, our Solutions Architect, who's going to run through some solutions insights and practical demos with us today. We're here to discuss and provide some insights specifically around inventory management. So how to achieve some operational efficiencies and insights into the NetSuite tool. In case you missed part one of our series, we focused on quote to cash process. In that session, delving into quoting, pricing, order management, fulfillment, and a bit around billing operations. So today, we're going to focus on some of the challenges our customers have been able to overcome with some solutions that our team have delivered in conjunction with NetSuite, specifically around inventory management. So to introduce myself briefly before we get in, I've been working within ERP and business systems across sort of consulting, project management and sales for 10 years, doing a lot of work with Australian-based distribution and retail businesses. As a sales and marketing director at Annexa, I'm now focused on selling and implementing and supporting technology solutions for Annexa and our customers, and really enjoy the opportunity to discuss firsthand the drivers that our customers are facilitating change for, and really appreciate how critical technology is to support their businesses to run effectively. Bart Wadley is also joining us today. Bart's one of our senior solutions architects, a really integral part of our team. Bart's been with us about 9 years now, and a lot of experience on the ground working with our clients, and on a daily basis designing solutions to help them run their businesses. In terms of agenda, so we'll get stuck into a practical demo, which basically will run to highlight some inventory areas and inventory challenges, and then we'll actually show you some practical insights into solution demos on the back of that. Bart will run that session. But before we do so, I'll just give a really quick introduction on our business and obviously NetSuite as well, whom you're all familiar with. So quick on Annexa, we're Oracle NetSuite implementation partners, been around for 30 years, supporting businesses with business management software. We're located across the country in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and we provide the on-the-ground services to assist organisations implement NetSuite, e-commerce, and also systems integration. Really relationships and great people allow us to do that, and that really underpins our success in the market. NetSuite, whom I'm sure you're all familiar with, they're a technology partner. We've worked very closely with Oracle NetSuite for about 8 years now, and it's a platform that we recommend, implement and support for our customers. So we're really proud to be highly regarded by Oracle NetSuite. Obviously a bunch of awards and accolades on the back of that, on the back of our success. In terms of our team, functional consultants, developers, strong blend of accountants, supply chain experts, integration devs that really work hand in hand with our customers to deliver our services. In terms of NetSuite, I'm sure most of the audience would either have NetSuite or be looking at NetSuite as a new tool for their business. So, world-leading cloud ERP suite. NetSuite was developed on the cloud. Has really broad coverage globally, and really strong in several key vertical markets, including wholesale distribution, which I guess is underpinning what we're talking about today. For Annexa, we, in terms of where we focus our efforts with NetSuite, we're really looking at businesses that have outgrown your traditional accounting platforms, your MyObs or your Xeros with add-ons, and or more bigger established businesses that may already have an ERP, typically hosted or on-premise. In both scenarios, the clients are looking for more sophistication, better integration, better automation, and the ability to scale and grow their businesses. And NetSuite certainly gives us the capabilities to do that. In terms of who we work with, our pedigree, we support both commercial business and not-for-profit organizations. Really proud to work with a bunch of really innovative market-leading businesses across Australia. Some great brands up there on the screen. Some great examples, Cargo Crew, Linen House, Gateway Packaging is also up there. All really good examples of businesses that have embraced technology to help them be flexible, offer different ways of getting their goods out to market, and are continually changing the way they get their goods out to market. In most examples, we're able to replace several systems and provide them with one system in NetSuite to bring together core business data to help them make decisions. We covered off some trends in part one, so I won't go into too much detail here. You can refer to the last presentation for more detail there, but specifically around inventory management, we're all well aware that the distribution space, obviously very fluid, it's always changing, and the way in which our supply chain models are working are changing all the time. The new norm now is our clients are needing to be able to support several supply chain models, whether they be, in fashion and this typical sort of fast moving stock trends, or whether or not they've got unique products and services and they've got very agile ordering processes, or they're more traditional in terms of the continuous flow of stock and planning. Our customers now, need to be able to accommodate all of those things. And it's critical that we've got inventory set up and maintained correctly so that our clients can effectively cost and track their inventory to make decisions. We've all seen the good and the bad when it comes to poor inventory management, particularly with, with such a critical financial component in terms of the value of what inventory means to our businesses. Old systems, legacy, outdated platforms, and sort of poor inventory management controls, are leading to this being under the microscope. And certainly our solutions and the insights today are there to give you a bit of an understanding as to how we can innovate, make that more simple for you guys to run your businesses. So on that note, I want to throw over to Bart. Bart's going to run the practical demo today and get stuck into some of these solutions. So over to you, Bart.
Thanks, Matt. So we went through last webinar a lot around the quote to cash process, as Matt said, and we were really looking for key challenges throughout the different flows in that cycle. As part of today, we want to look more around the inventory record, I guess specifically from a costing and a pricing point of view, but also understanding the differences between our products. As part of my presentation, I'll take you into the platform and show you a couple of the modules that you may or may not have seen. But yeah, hopefully a little bit eye-opening from a product point of view. But what I thought we'd do to start with is just sort of focus around some of the key challenges and solutions we've got upon mastering inventory in this space. So I've got a few of the topics up there. So demand forecasting, really common. We're trying to be efficient in our stock ordering process and having a system that can help provide that information. We've got inventory visibility. So we touched on this last week as well, but across the board, it's prevalent whether it's to do with a flow of information or basically mastering that inventory piece in understanding different components and attributes of our items. Storage optimization. So again, this sort of comes into the picking and the receiving piece, but also looking at bin locations and picking routes and lots and what products are being sold more frequently to basically placing them in the warehouse in the correct locations. We've then got understanding the requirements of our products. So this could come down to tracking different product types and the unique requirements of those. So things like lot traceability and serial tracking. So when it leaves our organisation, or while it's within the doors of our organisation, how do we track where that's been? Where is it up to in its cycle? In terms of quality or recall, or just understanding the processes internally, and then sort of rounding it all out with a flexible pricing engine. Everyone's sort of coming up with different ways to price their product to be competitive. So having a platform to manage that is really critical. So I'll drill into these aspects in a little bit more detail shortly. But as we went through last time, I just wanted to open up a bit of a case study just to sort of control relevance as we go through these principles. So the case study we've got today is an organisation that sells saws and blades and drill bits and sort of a lot of basic tools, but they do that internal kitting or componentry in-house. So there's an element of a build happening there. They've got 3 warehouses throughout Australia, importing containers from China for their product. A lot of complexities around their pricing, and basically at the moment selling in Australia and New Zealand. So, we've got those challenges of cross-border that we need to take into consideration as well. So the first component that we want to go through is basically costing. Okay, so for these guys, you can see sort of from the case study there, we've got 3 warehouses, we've got imported goods, we've got a fairly diverse range of product, taking into consideration we're doing some assembly there as well. So, costing was certainly high on their radar of what they needed to get a handle on. So what I've got on the screen there is just some of the key challenges and solutions that we're seeing out there. So the first one, applying the correct costing methods. Setting these products up correctly initially. To a lot of you online there, it probably sounds super simple, but a lot of organizations aren't taking it into consideration. So NetSuite supports a range of different methods, from average to specific to LIFO or FIFO. But we're still seeing customers out there with miscellaneous products set on average costing, and they're selling that product anywhere from $1 to $500. So of course that product's not going to show a true cost across the board. So understanding what method is correct for what product, and then understanding the different types of products. So does this product need to be tracked in a lot? Does it need to have serials? Does there need to be expiry dates? Is that information overkill? Understanding, what that information can be used for will let us set those products up correctly initially. And then obviously if we want to expand nationally or globally, are there differences at the different locations across the globe? The second one we've got here is incorporating landed costs against my products. So a lot of systems will manage this in some fashion, some well, some not so well. But if you're thinking about importing goods in a container fashion, that might be made up of several different purchase orders, or it could just be a single purchase order. And it's crucial that we incorporate these costs at that time. NetSuite's got a standard landed cost module to help manage the costs, either that be from a shipment or just a standalone item receipt. And where Annexa have sort of enhanced this process, we've built our own landed cost distribution module, and it basically takes all the good things that NetSuite's done, but it's giving us greater flexibility around the calculations of our landed costs, the timing, and the bulk management of those costs to assist our customer base. The next one, we've got distributing other admin costs to the correct location. So this one is not directly related to an inventory item, but super important in the overall warehouse costing and the decisions we might make. So if we have multiple departments or locations, we need to get that true picture of what that location is costing us to basically utilize out-of-the-box reporting to then say, hey, I've got 3 warehouses here. Should we look at using a 3PL and closing one of those warehouses down? In our example, they've got a team out of one of those warehouses that does all the componentry and the kitting. What does that team cost us? Could we just buy these in those certain kits from a supplier? Or is that one of our competitive advantages, that we can spin up custom kits and make new products quite quickly and be diverse in that sense. And, obviously if that's a competitive edge, you keep it. But if we can save costs out there by buying these in, then we need to take that into consideration. And the last one there, from a costing point of view, where else can I get my product and what does it cost? So, having preferred vendors and tracking that past history in an item 360 view becomes pivotal. So, if we're looking at a high priority order, we know the shipment's not going to come in time. Do we have any local suppliers that we can buy that from? And then obviously we circle back around and say, if we do buy it from that local supplier, what's the cost differences? Can we afford to be late on that order to use the local supplier? And I guess, needing this information is really critical to make sure we make the right decisions. So what we'll do now, we'll jump into the product. So what I've got here up on the screen is just our inventory item record within NetSuite. Appreciate a lot of you would have seen this screen before. So we've got a box cutter on the screen there. We can see we've got some units of measure happening. We've got this tracked against all our entities. It sits in a product class, so we can track that from a financial point of view. But the first thing that we sort of discussed was the visibility. So we've got our item 360 tab here, and we can see across all our locations very quickly, basically where stock is and an overall cost across our different locations. So having this in real time and at our fingertips is really providing the information that we require quickly. So, things as far as, monthly sales across the board. So we can see here, if we're talking seasons, this month is good for box cutters. We were pretty steady across the board and just had an explosion in this month. So possibly that could be a new customer coming on board, or it could be something that we need to understand of why this is happening if it's happened across multiple years. Okay. The next one I thought would kick into, given we're talking about costing, is our purchasing and inventory tab. So we've got a little bit of configuration here that we can utilize within NetSuite. And I guess the first one that we're talking through here is landed costs. So if it is a product that requires landed costs to be tracked to it, we can select that on, which then enables some other screens within the system. We spoke through our costing method, choosing the right method, and I probably look like a bit of a hypocrite here, putting this product on average when I said we need to discuss that before just setting our products. But a lot of the time average makes sense. We just need to understand when and why. We've got that costing information and our purchase price readily available, and then some methods around how this product needs to be purchased. So is a drop ship item or a special item relevant for this product to automate some of the ordering processes? Now, in the middle here, we've got some information that I'll go through later when we talk through demand, but key to our item record within NetSuite is the fact that everything can be replicated down at those different locations. So as you can see here, it doesn't have to be national, it can be global, but we can see those costings across the board. We can see the purchase prices. Everything can be replicated down at that granular level. The next one we discussed was the idea of preferred vendors. So I've got a vendors tab. I can see the different vendors that I can purchase from. We always have a preferred vendor for any sort of automated ordering that's going on within the system, but we can see those different purchase prices. So when we're making that decision and trying to work out who we want to buy from, we can go straight here. And then I guess further to that, we can utilize the related records, and it'll show, I've filtered this to purchase order here. So it'll show all the purchase orders that I've ever purchased for this item, and it's showing me those rates that I've got. So when we want to go into discussions with suppliers, we've got all that information readily available to talk through with those suppliers. So I guess the key here is very flexible from a costing point of view on the item record, and everything should be sort of just right there at our fingertips ready for us. Now, the other item that I discussed as part of our challenges was the idea of landed costs. So we spoke on our item record, we've got that tick box, but then that comes into fruition when we've got the item receipt. So on our item receipt, we've got our landed cost tab. We've got a cost allocation method here. So this one's set to weight, but that might be quantity or value. And we've got a couple of options here. We can manually assign a cost against the item receipt, or we can actually change the source to be the actual supplier invoice that we've put into NetSuite, and it'll apply that according to the cost allocation method that we've got. So this works very well on manual if we're having an estimate, because we haven't received that information at the timing that we require. But then it's nice to be able to directly relate the transaction that's in NetSuite back to the source. The other time that we're sort of doing landed cost is on a shipment record. So the inbound shipment, not everyone is utilizing within NetSuite. It's a newer record that has been released, but same principles apply. We've got some different POs making up this shipment, and then we've got a landed cost tab, which is basically saying which cost categories and what amounts are being related to which items of those purchase orders. So I guess what's really flexible here is it's only being applied to the chosen ones that we're saying as part of the inbound shipment. Then when we receive this shipment, those costs will be dispersed across the different item receipts that are made as part of this container or shipment process. And I guess this is where our module comes into play. It was sort of built for one of our customers. They had some unique requirements around how they wanted to calculate and disperse those landed costs. So we put in some other methods for them to work that out. They had some interesting units of measure. So the weight and value and quantity wasn't really going to cut it. Also from a timing point of view, you know, this is going to calculate when I do receive, and our module could basically be done in bulk any time that you need it to, and it could update those costs where required. Obviously that opens questions around timing and if that product's already been sold, but it gave greater flexibility on top of the standard platform to allow for that. Okay. We'll switch back to the PowerPoint now, and we'll look through our next topic, which is pricing. So when we talk about pricing, we really are thinking about the different ways we can price this product up for it to be competitive in the market. So back to our case study, one of their real competitive edges was the ways that they price products. They did a lot of volume discounts, a lot of promotions. They grouped products together, and you know, managing all of this was challenging, and you know, it made a lot of stress on their sales staff, and trying to avoid customer relationship issues was critical. They basically had one employee spend 4 days at the start of every month, or sort of the end of the month, getting the pricing ready for the next month in their system, which obviously if you can cut those 4 days back, that's an employee back doing things that could be done by the system. So if we look at our challenges and our solutions again, we've got moving old stock from either over purchasing or seasonal leftovers. So utilizing quantity-based discounts and the out-of-box reports to understand the GP. So we need to have a strategy here. Do we understand that if we give 50% off as a discount, will that still turn us a profit? Can we afford to take a bit of a loss if we can move at large volume? So that's where the quantity-based discounts come into it. And I guess making it easy for the rep. So this needs to be auto-applied at the time of doing a sale. We don't want them to have to look this up to see what they're able to do. It needs to just apply itself to the quote or the order. In terms of everything that I'm sort of saying here, obviously marketing play a big piece in how we get this out to our customers, but we'll leave that topic for another day. The next one we've got there is automating the date-based specials to products. So NetSuite has a new engine called Suite Promotions. There used to be an old promotion engine, but the new one is certainly a lot slicker and easier to use. And this is allowing us to apply these promotional discounts and variances in a nice, friendly user interface. And that can be done across locations, customers, product ranges, and then setting that period of time that is allowing the system to work for you instead of having to remember to sort of turn prices on and off. It needs to be completely automated, which we've talked through a few times. Selling these products across different locations and currencies if you don't have a system that sort of utilizes multi-currency and multi-location product information, it will be very difficult to scale and grow into new locations, especially from a currency piece. Sometimes people will get away with the location side of things, but the currency piece can get very complex. And then I think the last one can sort of resonate with everyone, and that's updating these system prices. Certainly for our case study, it was a big issue for them. And I guess, some people all have different strategies, CSV imports. One guy does manual pricing across the board. And I guess that's why Annexa's built a new app called the Annexa Price Uplift, which is basically a way to manage all the different functions within NetSuite in one sort of nice, easy to manage screen. And we'll jump in the platform now and I'll show you some of the differences in NetSuite in how you can price these products. Granted, if you were in the last session, you would have seen some of these, but I'll touch on the suite promotions engine as we go through here as well. Okay, so I'll start back on the inventory item to sort of give us a little bit of generic information. So we've got a sales and pricing tab on our item. We've got a cost estimate for the sales side of things. But as you can see down the bottom here, we've got all different price lists that can be applied. They can be set numbers or they can just be base discounts up or down. And that can sort of automatically be monitored throughout the system. You'll notice we've got the different currencies across here, so we can easily sell across these currencies. And then when we talk about volume discounts, we've got the different rates by quantity numbers here. And further to that, we can do quantity pricing schedules, which is allowing us to group, I guess, types of product or categories of product together. So it's not just utilizing this one by one notion. And then from a granular level, we can also group products to just apply different price levels against these pricing groups. So the pricing group blades for certain customers could have a different price or discount percentage against them. So to sort of flip that to the customer side, on the customer record, they've got their group pricing. So they get their manual tools at 20% off, drill bits at 10%, but their overall is 10%. Okay, so all products will come in at that unless we've sort of said otherwise. So that's sort of grouping things together. From an item point of view, we've got a specific item that can go at a different price. So if they've negotiated rates with you, that can be tracked specifically on the customer. The next one I want to go through is the suite promotions. Granted, it's again another newer module within NetSuite. So I'll show you first just the initial screen to create a promotion. As you can see here, some great flexibility on what we're trying to do as part of the promotion. So, are we just doing a base discount? Are we doing some fixed prices? Overall discount on order? Are they free gifts? Are they shipping promotions? But really nice user interface to be able to perform these functions, and easy for sort of anyone to jump in and start creating them. And I guess anyone that sort of knows some of the past of NetSuite, there is effective day pricing that was allowing us to put dates and things like that on. We're seeing more customers utilizing the suite promotions to basically do the same thing, just because of the interface that it allows us to use. So if I go to a promotion now to give you a little bit of a look into it. So right here, we've given it a name. We're just trying to move some of the old stock blades that we've got to 4-day special. We've got certain discounts that we're going to apply. Do they need to buy a minimum of orders or certain items as part of this order? Is it specifically calling out certain items that the special's for, or are we going to utilize a save search? So for anyone that hasn't got NetSuite, a save search is basically just a listing of information. So I could have a search that just says these 2 categories are going to get this promotion applied to them. So that's a really quick way to choose which products will fall under this promotion. And then from there, which locations is it for? Or which customers are we applying this for? Is it across the board? Is it just for Sydney? Is it for a certain group of customers? Certainly all of that is able to be applied through the promotion. And then I guess a promotion can be used in the true promotional sense, that it's like a coupon code, and you have to enter that code. And when they give you the code, so if we think of a promotional code from the website, or are we just getting it to auto apply and it's unlimited uses, and yeah, basically just using it as a volume date-based pricing engine within NetSuite, and then we can apply it to marketing campaigns as well. So really flexible. And what's nice about this is it completely complements all the other pricing that we discussed. So it'll basically sit on top of the pricing that's there. So if the product is already at a lower rate, the discount won't run over the top. They coincide quite well as part of the system. Okay. All right, I'll switch back to our PowerPoint presentation now, and we'll go through our last major topic, which is planning. So planning, we're thinking about demand and how we forecast. So if I think about our case study, I think these guys were doing what majority of companies are doing out there, which is basically they've got one incredibly knowledgeable employee in this area, exports data out of their current system, does some magic in Excel, and then they'll manually start punching those purchase orders back into the ERP system. So we see it a lot, that some alternate system is calculating their demand. They don't trust systems to do it on their behalf. So all being done external, and then they're coming into the platform. So that first point that we've got there, very common for those guys. So just spreadsheets after spreadsheets to calculate demand. There's a lot of benefits from being able to calculate it live in the system, a lot of time-saving efficiencies here. And I guess, how are we calculating the demand? Like, are we looking at sales forecasts? Are we looking at seasonal averages? Are we just looking at a moving average or a linear regression model? So NetSuite supports all of those. And then I guess from that demand, how can we create purchase orders quickly? So within NetSuite, we can directly create the purchase orders from the calculations that NetSuite provided us. Or if we did need to manually update those numbers, we can basically apply our own sort of manual edits to that, which is always a big time saver. Annexa, again, have built a custom module to help with ordering. It's basically a bulk ordering module, and that allows us to select a bunch of sales orders from a criteria, or manually selecting sales orders, and it can go and create the relevant purchase orders for their preferred suppliers. So it works in a similar function. It's just, it's not working off any sort of time-based or reorder levels. It's basically whatever you want. And we built that one for organizations that are directly relating purchases to sales. So they're marrying up in a one-to-one fashion so they can track the dates against purchase and sale. The next one we've got there is to optimize their amount of stock holdings. So we've primarily spoken through stock holdings as being a negative when someone's got too much stock on hand, but in some aspects, having healthy stock amounts can get deals across the line. If you're able to supply what's required for a big order, sometimes you can get selected purely from that. So I guess working at how we manage those products differently, do we want to use reorder levels and safety limits, and then we utilize reminders and reports from there, is something we need to understand about our products. And then the last one there, as we've said, across the board, how do we do all those processes then across our different locations? Every location's warehouse might be bigger, smaller, different hours when people work in it. So we need to be flexible, and we need to have a system that allows us to support that. So NetSuite certainly does that, being able to do all this demand at that location or the entity level across the board. All right, so let's jump back into the product one last time. So I'll go back to our inventory item to start with. So from our item record, we want to set up basically how we're going to calculate demand for this product. So this product we're looking at here is sitting on reorder points. So he's looking at our preferred stock levels, our reorder points, our safety stock. And then as we saw before, this can all be replicated down at that location level. We can switch this product to being time phased, which then is looking at more of our demand functions. So again, understanding what products need to calculate in what method is crucial for us to be able to perform our ordering. So down here, I've got lead times, but if I was to scroll across, we've got demand time fencing and planning fencing, which can be utilized if we were switched on to the time-facing method. Okay, so in terms of calculating our demand, we basically simply go through a calculation process. So I'm looking for Australia here across my Sydney location. I've chosen the projection method to be moving average, and then I'm looking at a weekly basis for my ordering. I've got a duration set of when I'm ordering for and how much history I need to take into consideration. And you can see here, whichever products are switched on as time-facing will show in this list. When we're talking about new products that we're bringing on, we can apply that alternate source to basically be used, as there will be no history for some items if they're brand new. But you can see the last plan of when it was put together and what the last method was. So you can run this as many times as you want to see that the figures are getting what you need. So it's certainly a bit of a learning curve at the start to get a system to handle your demand if it's not sort of direct special ordering. But yeah, really crucial that we can put the trust behind a system and get the system working for us. So what that looks like after we have calculated the demand, I've got that product there. So this is our small box cutter, and you can see it's been calculated out that I need 5 basically each week for the next few weeks. And then again, if I didn't trust these figures and I want to run them in a different method, then I can simply rerun those numbers to recalculate what I need. And if I needed to manually update these, I can manually make the changes in this screen as well. Okay, so then what I guess drives from demand is we've got that supply, and then from that supply, we're looking at our ordering function. So we have an order items page. This is the standard page within NetSuite, and it's allowing us to do all our filters up the top, like a lot of the suitelets in NetSuite. But then we've got our 2 different tabs here. So our time phase for our sort of demand planning, where we're looking at the sales or our moving average, and then our reorder points. Okay, so these are our items that, so I can see the box cutter down here, looking at my safety levels and my preferred stock levels to make sure that I'm running at the optimum level that I want. But yeah, allowing the system to create my purchase orders instead of me manually creating everything across the board, pumping all the information back into NetSuite and losing a lot of time just around maintenance across the board. Okay. I'll jump back to the PowerPoint for a moment. So I've spoken through a couple of the apps that we've done within the platform. So I won't go through these. We don't want this to be purely focused on our modules. We want to sort of show what the platform can do. But the apps is just something Annexa offers. There are a lot of apps out there that support the NetSuite platform to just uplift the standard modules. So, you know, our landed cost and our price lift and our bulk ordering, you know, they're critical to our customers' success that we've built for them. And I guess that's one of Annexa's point of differences out in the market as well. All right, so let me switch back over and we'll just have a quick look at our Q&A. So we've got, is Item 360 included in NetSuite already? So Item 360 was basically brought out as part of the Suite Success model. So we can talk through any existing customers that don't have the Item 360 and talk through how we can get those features applied. But sort of any new NetSuite deals, this is out of the box. This is seen as leading practice and what's required for these organizations to compete. And yeah, there's no configuration required for any sort of new sales. And then those existing, certainly get in touch with us and we'll make that happen. And then the other one we've got there is, how is the landed cost distribution app different from the standard? So the key points around what we've done is around the different currency calculations. So I might get my duties in one currency and I'll get my freight in another currency, and then putting those calculations through. But then if I was missing the invoice and I got the invoice 3 days later, but I'd already received the stock, to be able to go back in and update all the purchase orders from that container was critical for our customers. So we built basically its own land cost screen that you can go in and simply plug in those figures, apply which item receipts or which shipments they need to go against, and then post them across the board. And it's flexible enough to sort of go back in if you had made a mistake, and it can overwrite those figures where required. Yeah, so the question that's just come through now is the difference between inbound shipment versus item receipts. So the inbound shipment record still creates an item receipt record. So if I had 15 purchase orders on the inbound shipment, it would still create the 15 item receipts and apply them to the correct purchase orders. And same with the supplier invoices for those, it can apply itself against those records correctly. So it's a bulk way of being able to do it with one click across the whole shipment. But the issue being with landed costing, you're capturing that landed cost when you're hitting receipt, and it's creating, say, 15 different item receipts. If you made an error in what that cost value was, you've basically got to manually go back in and update those 15, where our module is allowing us to do that in a bulk fashion. So next question we've got, with the suite promotions, could you return in a save search the price for items for any customer during this period of time? So it doesn't use the standard save searches that's applied, say like on a customer record or an item record. You need to do a search off the promotion itself. But yes, you can get that information out to understand what it would be. It's just those comparisons between what's already on the item record and what's in suite promotions, that just takes a little bit more thought to get that information out. It's not as stock standard. And I think that's where we see people, NetSuite certainly got all the different features to do all the pricing, but bringing all that together is why we sort of built the price uplift originally. Like if you were just using promotions, you'd be absolutely sweet. But when you combo them all together, that's when, you need sort of, even the suite analytics can help out in that area to bring it all together.
Thanks to everyone for joining today. We'd obviously really love to hear from you in terms of feedback from the session, and of course help you with any NetSuite related information and services that you might need. Once again, thanks and have a great afternoon.